Good day everybody, and welcome to the Boerboel Academy, the place where we talk about Boerboels and where we share the knowledge that we have. We've been very blessed with the support that we've received so far for the Boerboel Academy, and really I think people are starting to find it more and more of a useful resource. And the main comment is the fact that the videos that I make they're honest. I'm not trying to sell a dog. I'm not trying to motivate anything. I'm just being honest. I'm just saying these are the facts. And so far nobody really can dispute anything that I said, because it's all based on research and facts. Now today I'm going to address something that I see more and more in Boerboels, and it's something that is very disturbing. And I know that, for instance, some of the organizations already said, we're going to start acting on this now. But I don't think they understand the reasons for this deviation. And what I'm going to talk about is swaybacks. Now, what is a swayback? It doesn't really say anything much. If I take this little pot and I say this is the front end of the dog, and I take this one and I say that's the back end of the dog, and I take these two and I put a spine in the middle, that is a good top line. It's level, it's strong, it's sturdy. These are the front legs, those are the back legs. This little piece sticking off here is the tail. This is a good top line, right? Strong, sturdy, everything is there. If I take another twig and I put it there, right, and I see it's thin, it already starts sagging, and for some other reasons it does that. Front end of the dog, rear end of the dog. What do I see? I see a swayback. This is a swayback. It very badly impacts on mobility of the dog, on many things, on the appearance, on everything. So swaybacks are most definitely not desirable. Now let's have a look and see what causes swaybacks, and why in the past there were not really serious problems with swaybacks. I'm going to put an illustration here, and I hope on the video you can see it very clearly. I just drew a dog. It could be a Boerboel. Now this is the front part of the dog. This is the front angulation. As you can see, there's the top of the scapula, there's the front joint, the shoulder joint, there's the elbow joint, there you go into the pastern, right? And that corner there we know must be 90 to 110 degrees. If I look at the back of the dog, there's the hip joint, there goes the upper thigh, the lower thigh, the hock, and again that angle there, 90 to 110 degrees. Right, so this is a well-structured dog. In between there's a spine. The spine is nice and level. The spine has an extension which is called the tail, right? The tail can be long, it can be short, but the breed standard says this tail must be a natural extension of the spine. Then the dog has ribs. It's got a chest. Right, now if we look at the ribs, there was a description of this well-structured Boerboel. First of all, it said that the ribs, the chest, if you look, and that is the elbow, the chest was never deeper than the tip of the elbow, and it was just, for me initially it was just a descriptor of an appearance, but now it seems that the old breeders had a very valid reason for saying so. So if your chest comes in there, it should end at the tip of the elbow, at the elbow joint, right? Now, something very important about this section of the spine, from here to there, it's supported here by the hindquarter. It's supported here by the forequarter, but in between it's unsupported. It is like this that I had here, where I put a stick across. It's supported here, it's supported there, but in the middle it's not supported. The only thing that makes it level is its own strength, right? Now, depending on what we hang onto this branch, it will eventually bend, right? So let's have a look at this. let's have a good look at this. Now, what did the old breed standard say? It's first of all, have a good look at this. Now, what did the old breed standard say? It's first of all, describe the chest depth, and it described the width of the chest if you look from the front. It said it should not have a pinched chest, but the chest should never be so wide as to impact on the mobility of the dog, right? It was not really quantified. They did not say so many centimeters or this ratio, and therefore it was abused. We moved into an era where bigger and wider and thicker was better, and not really any thought about it. As long as it's bigger and wider and thicker, it was seen as superior. The second thing is that the breed standard described, it said that the dog should have a well-developed spinal column. How the hell do you measure that without an x-ray? It's possible, and I will show you how. And it's very important, because remember, between here and there, only the spine is supporting all the weight of the dog in between. It said, it also described, the old breed standard, the length of this section in here. It's called the loin, right? You have the ribs, the rib cage, and then you have a section in between where there's not even any ribs supporting it, nothing. It's called the loin. Now, the old breed standard gave a description of how long that should be and how wide it should be, because obviously the strength in that section is determined by the length and then the width and the muscling that's on that loin, right? Now, the last thing that it described, and critically important, was body ratios. Because obviously, if I use this and that, and I put a stick in between, and it's so long, it's gonna sag in the middle very easily. If I put it like that, and I push there, it's not easy to make it sag, right? So this length is also critically important to what we are talking about. Okay, so that was the basic picture, right? Now, let's look at the first section, the chest width and the chest depth. I'm going to draw a picture here again. Now, as I said, there's the forequarter and it's supporting, and there's the hip, and there's the hindquarter, and it's all supporting this section of spine. Now, onto this section of spine, we are adding ribs, right? But what happens if we push these ribs down to there? And that is really what we are seeing nowadays in the Boerboel, right? Have a look at the pictures. There's the elbow joint, right? Look where the chest depths go. The chest depths are far, far, far going past the elbow, the tip of the elbow. That means that this is excessive. In the old breed standard, this was called excessive. Nowadays, it's rewarded. But what happens? This is all weight. This is weight that you're adding onto the spinal column. And if you add weight, something's got to carry it, right? And therefore, if you add a lot of weight here, you're going to see a collapse of the spine. This is logical. Why can't anybody see it? The excessive chest depth has got serious problems and research problems when it comes to stomach torsion. Not talking even about the swaybacks, right? It's a very bad thing to have a too deep chest or a too wide chest. Go read the research on stomach torsion. The only thing that they could actually find that is a direct correlation with stomach torsion is chest depth and chest width. And we have a serious problem with that in the Boerboels. But it's not seen. We say, okay, we're going to do something about it. We're going to start penalizing swaybacks. Look at the reasons for it and penalize the reasons. Right. If you look at yeah, I did another picture of the spine and the ribs coming out, the rib cage. It must be well rounded. But the deeper it goes, the heavier it goes. The wider it goes. If we make this chest this wide, it's just extra weight and volume, and you put the legs there. Right, we take that one out. And we go really excessive. We take that one out and we stick a leg down here. Huh? What happens to this poor little spine? especially if we don't know if it's strong or not. Right? Chest width and chest depth have not been checked. The wrong things have been rewarded. Excessive chest depth and excessive chest width have been rewarded, and that is incorrect. That is wrong. Okay. The next thing we must look at is spinal thickness. If we look at a dog and we look at the forequarter, the angulation, and the hip, and the hindquarter with the angulation, the pastern there, we have a spine in here. If that spine is a thin little thingy, what is it going to do under the weight? It's most probably going to hang like that. How do we determine the thickness of the spine? By reading the breed standard. The breed standard says the tail should be a natural extension of the spine. So if you want to know how thick or how strong the spine of a dog is, let's say that's the tail, you feel it. When did you last see an evaluator and appraiser going up to a dog and touching its tail, not looking at the skin around it, but physically touching the tail and feeling if there are any kinks in it or what the thickness of the spine is? They don't do that anymore because they were not taught to do it. But now we have dogs with serious swaybacks. The problem is the sturdiness, the thickness of the spine. If you had a very strong, sturdy spine and we checked for it and we rewarded it, if it was there, you would not have swaybacks. Simple. This is not rocket science. This anybody should be able to understand that. Right. If we look at the next thing and we look at this loin, remember there's the hindquarter with the angulation, the hip, there's the forequarter with its angulation and the neck going out, and in between we have a spine. And as we said, in the spine we then have ribs, all right, and the ribs come up to a certain point. This point here and there is called the loin. This section is called the loin. Now the loin is supposed to be 1/3 of the total body length, and 2/3 here is the rib cage. When last did you see an evaluator going with his fingers and measuring the length of the loin and then going on and measuring it to comparing and looking at the ratio of it compared to the length of the rib cage? You don't see that because appraisers are not being taught to do that, because they did not understand the reason for that. And if they understood the reason for it, because we want to limit the length of this section which is supported by absolutely nothing, not even ribs, by measuring that is 1/3 and not exceeding 1/3. A lot of the modern dogs today are going to get severely penalized because they became sausages. They no longer structured correctly as a Boerboel. They became long, elongated dogs because then they weigh more, they look better. I don't know what the reasons for this is. If you look at the top view of a dog and you say that is the rib cage, it goes in. That is the rib cage and it goes in. And then you have the thighs at the back and you have the tail sticking out here. Right? That section there, that's the loin. And that should be 1/3. Right? Of the total length. There's your scapula. Right? So you measure from behind the scapula. Right? And that section there, the rib cage, should be 2/3. Simple. Apply it and you won't have swaybacks. Right? The last and the most important thing is, at some stage, and I've been talking about this quite a lot, about the compulsory disqualifications. A Boerboel was supposed to have a certain structure. You know, supposed to have a certain body ratios. And part of it was the overall structure of the dog. And if that was incorrect, most of the time the dogs were just shown out of the ring and said, sorry, This dog does not meet the breed requirements. And one of the very critical breed requirements was that the body had to be 10 units in length and 9 in height, which means the dog had to be nearly a square. It had to be a little bit longer than it's tall. Nowadays we have dogs that are probably twice as long as they are tall. They became very short, very long. That is a disqualification. It's not even just bad. But I see dogs becoming champions that are showing that. Why? Because the reason for the swaybacks was not understood. And the breed identity that said a Boerboel has the following ratios in its body was never understood. So let's look at a long dog. There's the neck, there's the forequarter, right? There's the hindquarter up to the hip. There's the tail. If you have this extremely long body, it cannot do anything else but hang. Because in between here and there is nothing that supports it. It's only the front quarter and the hind quarter, and in between we have a stick, a spinal bone. If it's that long, it's got to sag. If you make it shorter and correct, it is much sturdier. I hope you all understand this. And I hope that you understand that swaybacks are not desirable. Swaybacks are not part of the breed standards. Boerboels are not known to have swaybacks. If a Boerboel has a swayback, it is not correct. Accept it. Even if it carries a title of the Grand Bloody Junior Absolute Show Champion, I don't care. If it has a show swayback, it is not correct. Okay, and you cannot award a title to that dog. You cannot, because it's not correct. How can you give a title to a dog that does not represent the breed? Okay, so this is my whole rant about swaybacks. I think you must understand that swaybacks come from improper spinal development, too long spines, incorrect ratios of the loin and the chest itself, and then the weight that spine is supposed to carry as a result of excessive size reflected in excessively deep chests and excessively wide chests. It is all incorrect. Okay, so if you want to know more about the Boerboel breed, I want to invite you, please like my videos. Please subscribe to my channel, because then you will be getting a notification every time I post a new video, which is not too often, so I won't be bothering you so much. And then also, you can order the book. I have a book. It's only available as an ebook. It's not in print at the moment. Right? I have a book describing every single trait of the Boerboel breed. It's a massive book. It's not light reading. It's not your Sunday afternoon lying in bed giggling about the funny stuff type of book. Right? It is a 300-page heavy technical book about why, what should the ears look like, what should the head look like, how long the nose must be, how long the lips must be, what the teeth and dentition should look like, how long the spine should be, how long, what are you looking for on a tail, what is the thickness of the thighs. Every single thing is addressed in there with reasons and quoting the old breed standards as the base. If anything deviates from that, it is not correct. It was thought up by somebody who was given the task to rewrite a breed standard because he thought he could make it easier. By making it easier, you are watering it down. Right? I am not one for watering down. I'm here to protect this breed. And I will fight to protect the Boerboel breed, because at this stage, very, very few people understand where the hell the breed comes from and what the value of this breed is. I will make another video on what a Boerboel is. What should a Boerboel be? And we'll get to that later. So, if you want to send me an email, my email address is boerboelbook@gmail.com. Very simple to remember. If you want to order the book, don't send me an email. Just go to lulu.com, lulu.com. It's a service that sells ebooks, and you go to books for sale, and there's a search bar, and you type in the word Boerboel, and immediately both my books will pop up. I reduced the price; it's at a very fair price at the moment, so both my books will pop up. So you can read on the history and the origin of the breed, or you can read about the breed identity of the Boerboel. I really appreciate your time. And I hope I explained something which I see is becoming a norm in the breed, but because nobody knows how to fix it, because they don't understand what is wrong. There are a couple of things wrong. It's not just the backs that are sagging. The backs are sagging for a reason, or a couple of reasons. I thank you for your time, and I'll see you again soon.